Okay, so you're rocking that newsletter game. Your Substack is thriving. But there's that little voice, right? That one that whispers, book deal, book deal.
It's a common whisper. Many hear it.
It's practically shouting in my ear.
Ah,
And I bet I'm not the only one who started, like, a maybe someday book proposal that's gathering virtual dust somewhere.
happens to the best of us.
But what if today could be someday? What if there was a way to take that Substack magic and, I don't know, bottle it into a real-life book?
Well, that's what we're diving into today.
Exactly. We're looking at Chapter 18 of Substack Mastery
Yeah.
by Dr. Mehmet Yildiz. And let me tell you, this chapter is all about turning that author dream into a reality, using this platform called Reedsy. Have you come across it?
I have. It's making quite a name for itself. And for good reason. It's designed to help writers navigate what can feel like a daunting publishing world.
See, now daunting is putting it mildly. It's enough to make you want to crawl back into bed and just hit publish on another Substack post. But Reedsy, from what I'm gathering, it's like having a publishing fairy godmother, right?
In a way, yeah. But instead of waving a wand, they're connecting writers with editors, designers, marketers, basically all the ingredients you need to turn a collection of Substack posts into a professionally polished book.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. So it's like that moment in a movie montage where the hero finally gets the right team assembled.
Exactly. They've created this marketplace, but it's not just any old freelance platform. They've handpicked these professionals, folks who understand the publishing world inside and out.
And more importantly, they understand writers. Because, let's be real, we're a different breed.
That we are. But let's break down what they offer, because Dr. Yildiz gets into the nitty-gritty, and there's a lot to unpack.
Please do, because my to-do list is already a mile long. And the thought of adding learn everything about publishing just makes me want to order takeout and binge watch something.
I hear you, and that's the beauty of Reedsy. They take care of so much of it for you.
Music to my ears. So where do we even start?
Well, Dr. Yildiz breaks their services down into 7 main categories, but let's be honest. The one that makes most writers breathe a sigh of relief is editing.
Oh, tell me about it.
Oh,
I mean, I love my work, but after staring at the same words for days on end, I start seeing typos that don't even exist.
the brain plays tricks on you. That's why having a fresh set of eyes on your work is crucial. And not just any eyes that understand the nuances of your genre, your voice, your message.
So we're not just talking about someone who can spot a missing comma here and there. We're talking about someone who gets what you're trying to do with your words.
Exactly, and that's where Reedsy shines. They offer different levels of editing to suit different needs. You've got your big picture developmental editors. They look at the overall structure, the pacing, the argument. They make sure your story, your message really lands.
Okay, so they're like the architects, making sure the foundation is solid.
And then you've got your copy editors, the grammar gurus who swoop in to catch those pesky typos and ensure consistency.
Making sure all the windows are in the right place.
Precisely. It's a team effort. And Dr. Yildiz makes a great point about finding an editor who gets your niche. Like if you're writing about the history of cheese making or something.
Okay, now there's a book I would read.
Right. So you wouldn't want an editor who specializes in, say, thrillers. You need someone who understands the nuances of curds and whey.
You need someone who appreciates a good cheddar.
Exactly. It's about finding that perfect match, someone who can elevate your work without sacrificing your unique voice.
Okay, so we've got the words tightened up. But what about the look of the book itself? Because as much as I love a good spreadsheet, I'm not exactly a design whiz, which is where I personally start to panic. I can wrangle words, but design, that's a whole other beast. And we're not just talking about slapping a pretty cover on it and calling it a day.
Oh, no, it's so much more than that. It's about creating a cohesive look and feel. From the cover to the layout of the pages, it's about understanding typography and white space and all those little details that can make a big difference.
You see, this is why I need people like you. But seriously, Dr. Yildiz goes into detail about the importance of a strong visual identity. And it makes total sense, right? I mean, we're visual creatures.
Absolutely. And the right design doesn't just make your book look good, it reinforces your message. Think about it. A cookbook with bland food photography. No thanks. Or a self-help book with a cover that looks like a textbook.
Pass. Want something that draws me in, that makes me feel something.
Exactly. And that's what a good designer brings to the table. They understand how to visually translate your words into something that resonates with readers.
So basically, they're like visual translators. They speak the language of design so we don't have to.
Precisely. And just like with editing, Reedsy connects you with designers who specialize in different genres and styles. So whether you're writing a gritty crime novel or a whimsical children's book, they've got you covered.
This is all sounding very choose your own adventure, but for publishing. You get to pick and choose the services that make sense for your book, your budget, your vision.
Exactly. And speaking of vision, let's talk about the M word, the one that makes some writers want to hide under their desks.
Oh no, not the M word. Anything but that.
Marketing. Because even the most brilliantly written, beautifully designed book won't sell itself if nobody knows about it.
It's true. You could have the next bestseller just sitting on your hard drive, but if it doesn't reach the right readers,
It's like that proverbial tree falling in the forest, right? Did it make a sound if no one was there to hear it?
deep thoughts. But I see your point. So how does Reedsy tackle this whole marketing beast? Because I feel like that's where most authors, myself included, get overwhelmed. It's like, where do I even begin? Do I need to become a social media guru overnight? Hire a skywriter?
Well, the good news is Reedsy understands that not everyone is a born marketer. In fact, Dr. Yildiz emphasizes the importance of finding what works for you. He actually talks about how Substack itself encourages a more organic approach.
Okay, so we're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks.
Not at all. It's about building genuine connections with readers, cultivating your email list, engaging authentically on social media. It's about building a community around your work.
See, now that feels doable. Because I can totally get behind the idea of building relationships with readers. The thought of like cold emailing a million strangers just makes me cringe.
Exactly. And the beautiful thing is, those relationships you build on Substack, they can become the foundation of your book launch.
Okay, mind blown. So it's not about starting from scratch. It's about leveraging what you've already built.
I like it.
But let's get back to the book itself. We've got the words, we've got the design, we've got a marketing strategy brewing. But how do we actually turn those Substack posts into, a real-life hold-it-in-your-hands book?
That's where Reedsy's self-publishing services come in. They've got the whole process down to a science. Formatting, ISBNs, getting your book on Amazon and other platforms.
They're the engineers who build the rocket, making sure everything is aligned for a successful launch.
A perfect analogy, and they guide you through every step of the way.
Okay, that's a huge relief. Because honestly, the thought of figuring all that out myself makes me want to eat all the cookies.
Right.
And not the healthy kind.
I hear you. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. The thing that's probably on everyone's minds right now. The cost.
Yeah, let's address it. Because while pursuing your dream is priceless, we do live in the real world with real budgets.
Absolutely. And the good news is, Reedsy offers a range of services and price points to fit different needs and budgets. For a full manuscript, a developmental edit could set you back a couple $1,000s. Copy editing is generally less.
And what about design and marketing? Dr. Yildiz mentions those costs in the chapter as well, right?
He does. Cover design can range from a few hundred to over $1,000, depending on the complexity and the designer's experience. And marketing packages vary widely, but a comprehensive strategy could easily be several $1,000s.
Okay, so definitely an investment. But Dr. Yildiz also talks about free and lower cost alternatives, which is great for those just starting out. He mentions Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid as helpful tools for self-editing.
Exactly. He's a big advocate for using those tools to catch those basic errors and develop a more critical eye.
And of course, there's always Canva for those of us who are design challenged but still want to create something that looks halfway decent.
Absolutely. Canva is a game changer. And that's what I appreciate about Dr. Yildiz's approach in this chapter.
Yeah.
He's not saying you have to spend a fortune to get your book out there. He's all about meeting writers where they're at.
I love that. It's about starting with what you have and gradually leveling up. But there's one more aspect of Reedsy we haven't touched on yet, and it's a big one for anyone looking to get their book in front of new readers. Reedsy Discovery.
Oh, yes. Reedsy Discovery. It's one of their most intriguing offerings. It's essentially a platform within Reedsy, specifically designed to connect authors with new readers and reviewers.
Okay, so instead of just throwing your book out into the vast Amazon jungle and hoping for the best, it's like a more curated approach.
Exactly. Think of it as that independent bookstore you love, where the staff knows their stuff and recommends hidden gems. It's a place where readers specifically go to discover new releases in their preferred genres.
This sounds incredibly promising. But how does it actually work? Like, do authors just submit their books and hope for the best?
There is a submission process and there's a fee involved, but it's not about exclusivity. They're looking for well-written, professionally presented books that fit within their supported genres.
So quality still matters. What happens if your book gets chosen?
It gets featured on the Reedsy Discovery homepage and in relevant genre categories, putting it directly in front of eager readers. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Reedsy Discovery has this community of avid readers who are encouraged to leave thoughtful reviews.
Reviews can make or break a book. What's unique about the reviews on Reedsy Discovery?
Well, for one, these reviewers tend to be more engaged, specifically seeking out new authors to support. Their reviews are more about providing constructive feedback and helping authors grow, as opposed to just tearing a book apart.
So it's less about negativity and more about fostering a supportive community around books.
Exactly. Because these reviewers are already primed to discover new voices, they're more likely to take a chance on a book based on a positive review, even if they haven't heard of the author before.
It's like having a built-in cheering squad of book lovers. I love it.
It's a beautiful thing. And those reviews aren't just for vanity metrics either. They can translate into increased visibility, credibility, and ultimately more readers discovering your work.
Okay, but how do those reviews actually translate into book sales?
So each book on Reedsy Discovery gets its own dedicated page with a synopsis, an author bio, and of course those all-important reviews. And because readers trust the platform and its reviewers, a positive review there carries a lot of weight.
So it's about building that crucial trust factor early on. But this all sounds too good to be true. Is there a catch?
The main catch, if you can call it that, is that there's no guarantee of massive success. It's not a magic bullet. It's a tool. And like any tool, it needs to be used strategically as part of a larger book launch plan.
So it's about setting realistic expectations, but also recognizing the incredible opportunity that Reedsy Discovery presents.
Exactly. It's about approaching it with both enthusiasm and a healthy dose of realism. But the fact that it's a win-win-win situation makes it even more appealing.
We've talked about how authors and readers benefit, but remind us again how Reedsy itself benefits from this platform.
By offering this platform, Reedsy solidifies its position as the place to discover quality self-published books. They're attracting both authors and readers, strengthening their brand, and creating a self-sustaining ecosystem that adds value for everyone involved. It's brilliant, really.
It really is. Okay, so for our listeners who are on the fence about whether Reedsy is right for them, what would you say is the key takeaway?
If you're serious about turning your Substack into a published book and are looking for a platform that offers comprehensive support, Reedsy is definitely worth exploring. They've thought of everything an author needs, from those initial editing stages all the way to launching a successful book.
It's like having a trusted guide in your corner throughout the entire publishing journey. But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to ponder. You mentioned this idea of a win-win-win earlier. Unpack that for me. How does Reedsy Discovery benefit all parties involved?
It's about creating this really cool, virtuous cycle. Authors get their work in front of engaged readers who are actively looking for new voices. And those readers, they get to discover hidden gems they might have otherwise missed in the overwhelming sea of books out there.
Okay, so that's authors and readers winning. Where does Reedsy fit into this?
And that's where Reedsy comes in. They win by solidifying their reputation as the place to go to discover quality self-published books. It's all about building that trust on both sides of the equation.
It's like they're playing matchmaker, but for books and readers.
Exactly. And they benefit by attracting more authors and more readers to their ecosystem.
Smart. So they're not just selling services, they're building a community.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. For our listeners who are maybe on the fence, trying to decide if Reedsy is right for them,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you hope they take away from all of this?
You know, it's interesting. Even if someone isn't ready to hire an editor today or submit to Reedsy Discovery tomorrow, simply knowing these resources exist can be a game changer.
Okay, now you have to explain that one.
Yeah.
How can just knowing about these things make me a better writer?
Because it changes your mindset. Imagine this. You're sitting down to write your next Substack post, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking, could this be a chapter someday? That little shift in perspective can make you approach your writing differently.
Instead of just dashing off a post, I'm suddenly crafting a potential chapter in my future bestseller.
Exactly. And that awareness might make you pay closer attention to your prose, your structure, your argument. You're no longer just trying to hit a word count. You're building something bigger.
So it's like I'm leveling up my writing game even before I've fully committed to the game.
Precisely. And that shift, that intentionality, can be incredibly motivating. Suddenly, those late-night writing sessions feel less like a slog and more like, I don't know, laying bricks for a solid foundation.
I love that visual. So it's not just about churning out content, it's about creating with purpose, with the understanding that what I write today could have a life beyond this single post, this single platform.
And that shift in perspective can be transformative. It's not just about today's subscriber count. It's about building a body of work that resonates, that endures, that might someday reach a whole new audience in book form.
Okay, chills. Seriously, chills. This has been eye-opening. So for those who are feeling fired up and ready to take action, what's one concrete step they can take right now?
Define your vision of success. What does it look like for you? Is it holding that physical book in your hands? Is it building a sustainable writing career? Once you know your destination, you can start choosing the paths and tools that will get you there.
I love that. Dream big, plan strategically, and don't be afraid to invest in your own success. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into Reedsy and all it offers for those with book publishing dreams.
It's been a pleasure.
Remember, your writing journey is unique, but you don't have to go it alone. Until next time, happy writing.